I remember sitting in history class and thinking about two things: what I'm about to eat for lunch and Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 was a great game and marks the renaissance of a genre as a great game. It had everything the last game had: the unique art, the interactive combat, the gratifying loot, and it added on top of it. From the unique art turning into amazing art filled with live and colorful characters and beautiful zones, the interactive combat was evolved with amazing and unique skill trees and playable characters. The loot in this game is extremely exciting and unique, from a gun that shoots out birds to reloading a gun and throwing it at your enemies. The story in this game is funny and holds an amazing antagonist at the forefront. The amount of DLC and how each one adds something unique and looks beautiful, the Easter eggs, the side quests, the co-op, returning characters from last game that interests people. There's so much to say about this game and how it made me fail history class. Handsome Jack was cooler looking and didn't disturb me as much as these guys. Sorry. Borderlands 2 at the end of the day seems to have a lot of similarities with ARPGs such as Diablo, with the color-coded loot and different characters in or classes to choose from. So what exactly sets Borderlands apart from these games?
So, you want to hear another story, huh? One where the very fate of Pandora hangs in the balance? If not, too bad, I'm telling you anyway.
Story in Borderlands 2 is funny and fantastic. There's a bunch of interesting characters like Handsome Jack and Claptrap, and the way they introduce the story to you is better than the introduction to World War I story for sure. The beginning starts with a fat, greedy man setting up to save the world. How Handsome Jack is on the mission to save the world and a bunch of grubby bandits are trying to stop him. You learn pretty early on how great of a guy Handsome Jack is, and about a vault. This vault contains the means to save the world, a giant hero chosen to slay all of the psychopath bandits across the Borderlands. So Jack is after this vault obviously because he wants to save the world, and pretty annoyingly he gets stopped over and over again by these grubby bandits, and it gets pretty annoying for him, and you feel for the guy. These psychopaths even killed Jack's daughter and make it personal when it was all business in the first place. So obviously taking revenge was the best option, and Jack kills one of the many bandits after him. Big deal. Moving on, eventually our hero gets to the vault and he's about to reach salvation. The bad guys win and Jack dies. So they killed off the protagonist before he even reached his goal. Honestly, I applaud them on this. Killing off the hero without the hero even finishing the goal takes some fucking guts. But the Vault Hunters win and the story is over. Speaking of Vault Hunters, you start the game by choosing one of the 6 classes / characters, if we're including DLC, the Vault Hunters. You can choose a commando with the ability to throw a turret out to shoot enemies and a skill tree focused around his turret and explosives, but nobody chooses him because he fucking sucks. An assassin with the ability to vanish and confuse his enemies with a decoy, and a skill tree focused around sniping melee damage and being a cunning assassin, who is only ever chosen for one skill. A siren with the ability to phase lock an enemy in a different dimension in the air, and a skill tree focused around supporting friends, elemental damage, and phase lock. A gunzerker with the ability to dual wield any weapon and regenerate ammo and health, and a skill tree focused around overall gun damage and just being the best. A mechromancer with the ability to summon a rocket to kill her enemies, and a skill tree focused around her robot, electricity, and chaos. And the final character in Borderlands 2 is the Psycho, a psychopath with the ability to run around with a giant axe and heal with every kill, and a skill tree focused around blood explosions, melee damage, and lighting himself on fire, who is a very fun character to play, but it's a cast of characters who are unique from each other and makes replaying through Borderlands 2 different every time if you choose a different character, along with making co-op seem more interesting as different classes encourage everyone to play the game a little bit differently. Killing monsters with a buzz axe and looking over your shoulder to see a little man wielding 2 rocket launcher never feels like a sore sight. There's one problem I want to mention with the characters though. So 3 of the characters are just better than the other ones, and the balancing isn't the greatest. It encourages you to not even touch any of the commando, and that makes me upset. Soon after picking a character and looking in your skill tree, you realize that certain characters complement certain weapons. The loot in this game is unique and amazing. The reason loot is in the name of the genre is because of how revolutionary it was. Each gun and shield has a multitude of different parts and pieces that influence the stats on the gear. Maybe you have a grip that gives you more accuracy, or a sight that looks a lot nicer, or a barrel that gives you a larger dick. It's not just random guns that seem unique either. There are guns with descriptions that all have something unique about them, on top of legendary weapons that are also unique in their own way. Not to mention there are weapon companies that lend to different parts and categorize different pieces of gear. Examples of these companies are Torgue, who's known for explosions, Hyperion, who's known for accuracy, and of course owned by the charismatic Handsome Jack.
Sweet cheeks.
All the way to Meteor, who sucks. But you can throw their weapons and have them blow up on an enemy after reloading them, so I guess you can use them with Anthony the Commando's skill tree. Not only are the weapons incredibly unique and interesting, the other pieces of gear you can equip further change the way that you play. There are different shields you can equip that also have their own brands tied to them, and these shields give you a way to stay alive, but also do so much more. From the beast shield, the legendary shield that gives you more damage if your shield is full, to the sham, which is a different legendary shield that absorbs bullets shot at you and gives you ammo. Not to even mention the artifacts, grenade mods, and class mods unique to each character that can enhance the way you play, such as giving the Angel or the Commando a lot more grenade damage or explosive damage. The loot in Borderlands 2 changes the way you play and is exciting when a rare piece of loot drops, and it's great when you steal an unkempt herald from your friend's game. So what exactly is the point of all the loot if there's nothing interesting to use it on? The bosses in this game are well incorporated in the story and fun to fight against. The humble start of avenging Claptrap's eye by killing a four-armed Yeti eventually segues into killing the protagonist of the game. The bosses don't have the most advanced mechanics compared to today's games. The bosses are all unique in their own way and drop unique loot to make them feel unique. You can also farm the bosses for special weapons and get different rolls on them to give you another reason to kill the boss and to farm the boss multiple times. And sometimes you want to turn your brain off for a little bit. Why not kill a boss a couple hundred times? Bosses are gatekeeping the story in the greatest way possible. It allows you to progress through the story of the game and learn where you are in terms of character power. Say you take forever to kill Bunker, it gives you a reason to go back to the side missions and slay Savagely 1,000 times for 1,000 unkept heralds. Not only are there bosses throughout the story and side missions and just throughout the world, there are raid bosses to test out your build and see how good you are at the game. Bosses before this game, to my knowledge, were only big in MMOs, but bosses like Terramorphous the Invincible and the rock you can hide behind to take no damage set a precedent for future titles and was rewarding and fun in itself. After completing the game and selecting specific skills in my skill tree and grinding and farming the bosses for the best gear I could get in the game, my little middle school self got fucking rocked by Terramorphous. I don't know if it was because I was a stupid kid or if the boss was just that fun, but it was fun. And I tried to kill Terramorphous, but I couldn't. Not until my brother and a couple of his friends carried me through it. After killing Terramorphous, loot spewed out, and I wanted to do it again for all of the loot that's unique to him. This rush is what I play Borderlands for. I've never really liked min-maxing in video games unless it was a multiplayer game to compete with friends, but min-maxing in Borderlands to then kill all of the bosses faster and be able to farm raid bosses felt gratifying beyond belief. And the amount of bosses in this game that all have unique loot is a lot, especially if you include the DLC. Normally when I hear DLC, I don't get that excited. I don't care about stupid stories that don't have anything to do with the game or cosmetics and microtransactions. But Randy Pitchborg,
I'm really nervous,
knew what the fuck to do. The DLC in this game isn't fantastic. It adds even more unique weapons, interesting characters, interesting story arcs, and cool bosses. Even the worst DLC in this game, set in Shrek's Swamp, got an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. And the best DLC in this game has inspired an entire separate game because of the colorful and unique world it added to Borderlands 2. And the amount of DLC, Borderlands 2 is crazy. And there is so much content for such a low price. Not only are there a good amount of large story DLCs, there are small, like hour-long story DLCs that are funny and add more to the Borderlands universe. The DLC characters, as mentioned earlier, that add more complexity to the game. And there's so much more. Borderlands games in general have so much DLC that's actually worth it. So many things about Borderlands 2 that set it apart from other games. I didn't even mention how great the co-op is and how it encourages you to play online, or how you can play with Dream in Minecraft in Borderlands. Alongside the funny and interesting story, the fun and interesting loot, the loot-filled bosses, and the exciting DLC. This game was great. Randy Pitchfork did a great job.
I really want to make sure it's perfect. How we doing?
Really concentrating.